Hail, hail, and welcome to Celtic World North America. We are part of the YouTube channel of Celtic World, which kind of highlights the worldwide Celtic support. And on our show, we try to do a little bit of the North American and pretty much almost just always American because we haven't had hardly any Canadians on.
Since they became our 51st state.
They're all
America's hat.
They're all resentful.
But so anyway, champions again. Like, holy shit, 5 in a row, 14 times in the last 15 years, and this one may have been the sweetest of all of them. But I don't know. It absolutely was. Like, we suffered through the season, and a consistent theme on here over the last few months has been it's been brutal, but just imagine how much we will celebrate this if we actually get it across the line. And somehow we did get it over the line, and man, do we have a party. It's still going on for me in a lot of ways. I just can't stop. So but let's keep it going a little more tonight as we get towards the end of our first season doing this podcast. So let's get to introductions. First things first, Chris, how we doing?
Oh, making it.
Good to see you as always.
Yeah,
how did you watch the match on Saturday? Philadelphia CFC.
I turned on the TV. There was a lot going on. So but we were here at the house, live and awake at 6:30 a.m. So. Good stuff.
Yeah, it was a good one. And then James is back from us. He's one of our frequent guests. Welcome back, James.
As always, thanks, guys.
Yeah, how did you watch on Saturday?
Oh, pajama bottom CSC, kind of like Chris. So yeah, solo effort. You know what? It's funny. I don't know if I've said this on a prior recording, but my 84-year-old Peruvian father-in-law lives with us and has since he came back on an emergency State Department first-class ticket from Lima, Peru in April of 2020. And so he watches a lot of games with me, and he sat down late as the game was well into the first half, and Hearts scored, and he knew to get up and leave. Because he knew I was going to accuse him. You know, I like to joke about this stuff, but that he would have been a jinx. So as soon as he got up, we scored. So I think it's science. I think it proved it.
It did happen right away.
Yeah.
And last but not least, and I've been trying to get him on all season, and I'm happy we finally did before the end of the season. And you got a good slot coming on with us on the night we actually won the championship. Graham from Virginia. Graham, welcome.
Thank you. I'm honored that you asked me to be here. And can you imagine if things hadn't gone our way on over the weekend, what I would be like? Let's just say I'm thrilled that we won the title in a lot of ways. But thank you for having me on, and I'm thrilled to join you here.
Yeah, well, like I said, and Chris can vouch for it. Like, we've been talking about it all season. Just excited to get you on at some point, and so glad to make it happen. And as is tradition with all our first-time guests, whenever we have them on, we kind of try to go over, because we all have different stories. Like me, Chris, James, and like last weekend we had 2 Scottish guys on. We had Mick and Tony on, so they're gonna have different stories. But what is your it's like your Celtic origin story, I guess? Like, how did you get started following Celtic?
Well, it goes back to the late 90s. I was in college in South Carolina, and had a roommate who was from Glasgow, or from Scotland, not necessarily from Glasgow, but from Scotland, who would give me a hard time about American football and whatever you call it, egg chase and all that kind of stuff. And he was explaining to me this was the season that stopped the 10 in the row, and I didn't know anything about the background, Celtic and Rangers, at the time, the Huns. And he's giving me the story about, the history of Celtic and specifically, what Rangers are all about. And that sort of stuck with me. Like, wow, that's a little different. And one of the first games I ever, saw was, and this is back in the BBC Scotland days. It was the Celtic St. Johnstone game. Won the title, stopped at 10 in a row, saw how much it meant to him, and it was like, man, this is something different. This is something special. It really sucked me in. And as I got back to Philly, where I was originally from, became aware that we had some CSCs there, and just sort of casually, started consuming more and more Celtic, and then it became easier, to consume Celtic, with the CSCs, and then, a little bit with TV, Celtic TV, things like that. Moved down to Virginia, got real regular with, connecting with the CSC down here, and linked up with, of course, our guy who we know and love, Seamus, up in Philly, and had this wild idea. All of us kind of collectively had this wild idea, like, wouldn't it be a wild thing to create a podcast? Because at that point, the podcast you had was Celtic Underground, of course, and you got the Lost Boys, which was awesome. We listened to them, every week. We were trying to consume any kind of Celtic content we could get. The podcasts in those days were just great. Couldn't wait for them to be released. But our idea was, wouldn't it be wild if we had a podcast that was just a bunch of American voices, that we could show the world that just how big Celtic is and how much Celtic means to people, specifically here in America, but anywhere outside of Scotland and Ireland. And then we started Beyond the Waves, the show that we had there, and had a lot of fun, doing that. And it's been a little while since I've been on, the airwaves here, but I'm thrilled to be here today with you guys and talk about this season that has aged me.
It's aged all of us.
Definitely. Chris's beard is looking a little grayer.
There's new grays that appear every day.
Yeah, I got a little coming in myself here, but all's well that ends well.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I would honestly, credit you and the podcast and Chris and Dr. J and Rev and all those guys on there. Like that time was when I became more of a diehard. Like, whereas when I started, it was like, it was something I was catching here and there, and I would know the results a little bit, but like listening to your show every week, like, and then that got, like you said, it got me into those other podcasts like the Lost Boys and I remember listening to Paul Larkin and tons of different guys, and that's when like I felt it clicked for me, and it just happened to be the time when we started winning 14 titles in 15 years, and I guess that made it easier too.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Nah, so. But before we start talking about the game, let me throw up some comments. It's good to have the comments, and we got a lot already. Hail, Peter, thanks for tuning in. Jason, hail. Jason's a Columbus guy. He's been with us a few times this season. Strange Love is here every week. And yeah, so the comments are busy already. Milky Moose, sobered up yet, folks? Nope, not yet. We're going to get there, though.
Someday.
Yeah, so, I mean, in terms of the match, and I watched the Plow and the Stars on Saturday morning, which was great. God,
that must have been amazing.
Oh, it was unreal. I don't know where Chris's video went, but we it's good I've gotten down. I'm actually a paid member again, so I've been gotten down there a decent amount of times.
They caught you.
I think I was with James when I paid my dues at the fair. Like I got strong armed by Chris, not Chris Long, Chris Giles from the Plow. But Chris back in, we lost him there. And
Sorry.
that's all right. Now we moved spots with James and Chris. But yeah, so, and you're right, Graham. It was an unreal experience. I had a decent feeling going into the game. I think I was telling you beforehand, Graham. I was, relatively confident, and I don't know why. I was somewhat confident going into Motherwell, and we saw how that game played out.
Right.
I guess I'll go to James. I'll go to you first. And I could stick the lineup up. What was your thoughts on the lineup? It was kind of what I think we talked about last week. I felt like there wasn't a lot of choices for Martin to make. Any surprises for you?
No, not really. I think the unsurprisable surprises, to use a technical phrase, would have maybe been like McCowan sneaking in, or maybe if they decided to try and go with Iheanacho from the start. That those would have been that I wouldn't have been shocked by. I think probably the big surprise was Osman making the bench. Thank God.
Yeah. Sure.
The man from nowhere, gloriously so. But so yeah, not that surprised. I think the more of the surprise was on the Hearts side. I thought they were unsurprisingly surprising, meaning Derek McInnes likes to be surprising, and so I think there was a couple of things that he did that were interesting that we can maybe get into as we progress here. But yeah, I thought we were kind of as expected.
Yeah, same. But I agree with you. Like you said about Harts' lineup. When I saw that, I was like, "What? I don't even know what the fuck formation they're going for."
As someone who's analyzed and watched pretty much every Hearts game this season, that's the norm. Welcome to the Derek McInnes experience.
All right. Chris is having a little problems with audio, so he might jump out and we'll get him back on. But Graham, how about you? Any surprises on the lineup?
Not necessarily. I mean, I continue to be bewildered by the leaving out of Hatate. I think that with Hatate, there are times when he's the best player at Celtic, and I was talking to Paul Arkin about this, several weeks ago, where it's like he must have keyed Martin O'Neill's car or something. He's just not getting, any kind of run. And I've heard through several, back channels or whatever that he wasn't going to get a game, and maybe he's just not training well, or whatever the case is. And in the run-in, there have been times when our midfield just looked completely disjointed. It's been clear that Callum McGregor is lacking, full fitness, and he needs help. He needs somebody to do the running for him. It's been a heroic effort nonetheless from him, but to answer your question directly, I didn't see any necessarily surprises. I do think that they need to stop handing out the Player of the Year award before the end of the season. I mean, I've never been a big Nygren fan, and from Chris, you'll laugh about this. Back in the Samras days, I mean, I just have certain players that just do my freaking balls in, and Nygren's just one of those players. You're just waiting for him to contribute the goals and whatever, and he just so many games when he just came up flat, but. I don't know. I don't see how, with the full picture of the entire season, that Maida doesn't get that award. I mean, he's from day one. I've heard him described he's just like a broken down motor, that he's just sort of like a younger Scott Brown. It's like you let go of a balloon and it's like it's like kind of all over the place. But his energy is unbelievable, and he just never stops. And he's come up in that's the key. He's come up in big moments. It's not so much like he could score a bunch of goals, but it's the goals that matter and the moments that matter, and he's just always been there. there's just so much more quality in him as a player than I think he gets credit for, truthfully. But all that pish talking aside, we got the result in the end, and like you said, thank God Osman was there for us, and what a breath of fresh air that's been, as well. So it's gonna be interesting going in the Cup final. What that team's going to look like, what Martin sets out with there, because we've got one left, but it'll be fun. Sean, I'll say I did not have the level of confidence that you had going into it. I'm a pessimist by nature. Those who were avid listeners of Beyond the Waves historically know that full well. But it just felt like we're going to have that Charlie Brown, snatch the football away from us, at the very last second. And that was certainly what was on my mind throughout the first half. And God, when they scored the goal, I'm thinking to myself, like, I can't believe I'm going to do this to myself, but you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
And then we leveled, and it's like, okay, let's get in. Martin always has, an impact with those talks at halftime, and we'll see what the second half comes out with. But dear God in heaven, we got to 78th, 79th minute, and I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, like, this isn't going to happen. And damn if it didn't.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, Chris, I think we talked about it last week, so I'm not even going to talk about the lineup with you, because I think it was the lineup we expected last week when we were going into the match in our little preview at the end. But like, in terms of how the game started off, it was, and like James said, like it was kind of a chaotic lineup that McGinnis threw out there, and that was what they wanted to do. You could tell right from the start, was just make it ugly, and boot it up the park as much as you can, and knowing full well like that our midfield does get kind of overrun in a lot of those cases, and maybe you'll get a goal, but at least you just keep the ball. It's just lots of hoofing it up the park and hoofing and hoping, and they had Kabore on, who maybe gets behind Trusty, like stuff like that. So like James, I'm sorry, Chris, how did you feel the game started off for Celtic? Just did it cure your nerves at all, any of that first half? Chris? I don't know if Chris can hear me.
Dropped off again.
Shit. James, so I'll throw that one to you then.
Yeah,
I think he wanted to say no.
Yeah, I thought the first half was a disaster. I mean, one of the worst halves of the season, which, given the context, was horrifying and demoralizing, and unfortunately unsurprising, given. And I on our podcast, I try to be as objective as I can be. My seething disgust for Derek McInnes seeps through even when I try to do that. On your show, I tend to be less striving for objectivity and balance. So I really dislike the guy, but I have to give him credit. He nailed his tactics and his setup. I thought he got his selection wrong, which, again, he's often one or the other screws up. And from a Celtic perspective, I think he's kind of adjacent to a Neil Lennon team, where you just sometimes you're like, where did that come from? And I think he's more in that vein. So I think he really got himself into trouble in the second half because of what he did in the first half on a selection basis. But his tactics were spot on. Like if you came up, if we would have went into the game and asked me, how do I not want to see Hart set up? They did it exactly. And I thought they made us largely impotent, and we were really fortunate to get that penalty because it could not have come at a better time. And it was just kind of, it was against the run of play. We weren't really creating anything, and thank God the guy was 6 inches inside his own box when when he dove for the block
Yeah.
the cross. I mean, it was just one of those random things that sometimes it breaks your way. And as we've talked about, and my buddy partner Alan said on our show, I think it's something like 57 or 58 games since Hearts had conceded a penalty. So eventually they were going to concede another one and picked a hell of a time to do it. Thank God. But yeah, brutal. And Hearts had their usual issues. They're not particularly under McInnes. They're not particularly good in open play. They don't really have patterns of play or anything. So their biggest risks I was worried about was set pieces, and that's how they scored. So yeah, first half was a nightmare, but thankfully finished up much better than it looked and felt because of that great fortune at the end.
Yeah. And again, it's like, go ahead, Graham.
I was just going to say the big thing that I was curious about going into the game, because both teams had everything to play for. And my really what I was thinking about, I'm long past analyzing the tactics and formations and all that. I spent so many years, turning it almost into like my job. I just consume Celtic at this point, and I just let it breathe. But the one thing that I was curious about was who was going to come out and look the tightest. I was hoping that Martin was going to have the message and the motivation, for our side to come out and play and really get after it and play in a way that we were going to go out and get it, not get tight, not try and force it. But it was really hard to tell, which side was on more of a mental capacity of trying not to lose, which is a key component of these types of, largely you see it in a lot of like cup finals, especially if it's us and the Huns. But it was really hard for me to see which side was kind of which side was the side that looked like they were playing for, the result and playing freer, and which side was tighter, and by and large that doesn't make for a entertaining game, or something nice to watch. But I thought that was interesting. But you started to see a divide as we got into the second half. I felt, our Hearts just started. I felt like I was expecting them to have a lot more energy than they did as the game sort of built on.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely died at the end. You could see that, particularly like the guy at the midfield. I mean, losing Benigamy in the second half was huge.
Yeah.
And Cammy Devlin, you saw it on, particularly on. I know we're skipping ahead a little bit. We're jumping all over the place, but that's fine. Dyson's goal. No, it's fine. We do that every week. Like Srirachi went around Devlin like he wasn't there, and Devlin, and who's normally a guy who's like that's his job is breaking up play, and like he just had nothing in the tank and didn't even really make an attempt after Srirachi beat him to get back into the play.
Right. Yeah.
So
made him pick up his jock, Shawnee. That's a Philly phrase for you.
Yeah, it is.
But like I forget who said it, but like that goal, the penalty at the end of the first half was huge because I think it just put the belief back into Celtic, and I think they did just wear them down in the second half, and like throwing Iheanacho on at the start of the second half, I think Martin just played it perfectly, pretty much.
Definitely.
The whole match, everything. I mean, maybe I don't know, tactically, maybe like he could have done a few things different, but like I think the starting lineup was probably correct. Tenecti probably is better as a sub, but I think pretty much anybody we were going to throw on in that position is better off as a sub. So.
Well, so let me just if I can add a little bit of context, because because I like to try to back up something when I characterize it as outlandish as I did, and saying it was like diabolically bad. So we had 3 shots in that first half, which for Celtic at home in any context is bad. There was the trusty header in the 3rd minute off a corner.
Yeah.
The only shot from open play in the entire first half was Tenetki off of the counter press from Engels, which was a great sequence for Engels. And that was it. So in that entire half where we had possession, the vast majority of it, and they were back in this kind of mid-block playing 10v8 man marking because they were just letting Trusty and Scales have the ball and not pressuring them at all. We did nothing. Like literally nothing. I mean, it was crazy. So I just want to back it up. That's why when I characterize it as diabolically bad, that's what I'm referencing. And just reminding people, because it's hard to, when we're going over the timeline of the game, it's easy to forget how shitty the first half was because the way it ended. But my God, it was awful.
It was.
Yeah.
And like Jen, like you said, going back to the first half, and that was a big thing that you noticed. And I'll go to Chris. Can you hear me, by the way?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We're
Awesome.
all good now. As long as we don't get electrocuted again by lightning, we'll be fine.
Yeah, we don't want that. But I mean, how noticeable? Like I don't even know if they were almost taking Scales away as an option for Trusty.
Yeah.
Like it was like give Trusty the ball, let Trusty
he was the
do
one
what
that
he's
was
going to do
targeted.
with it, and it worked.
Which is nothing new, by the way.
Yeah.
We've been seeing that.
Yeah, I think they did
this
it
season.
to an extreme more so than anybody else has. Just in taking away, I think, the Scales option from him too, because he probably would have liked to just give it up at some point, like because it just wasn't working. But yeah, it was. It, like you said, it was a frustrating first half, and that, like you said, that shot from an open play from Tenecti was just kind of weak on, like didn't get anything on it, straight down the keepers.
Well, and in fairness to Austin Trusty, who I think's a Philly boy, isn't he? Or at least a suburbs of Phillies, where
Delaware County. Yeah.
Media.
Media. Okay.
Delco boy.
He is not a right center back. So he's been
Right.
playing there the vast majority of the season, and he's not the greatest ball playing center back to begin with. So for him to be playing on the right, he just did yeoman's work this season, and he got absolutely fleeced during physically. He had so much work to do during the Nancy period. I mean, it was just it's incredible. It's incredible he made it through the season as one of the guys that didn't rupture a hamstring.
That's a great point.
Yeah, he's just a workhorse for the whole season. So I it wasn't as great. It wasn't his best game, but I just wanted to put that in context because I think
definitely true.
I thought he was just
That's a great
tremendous
point.
the whole season.
I mean, it's and big games too. I mean, he's had some stinkers, to make no mistake. But I think it was one of the Hun games where he was extraordinary.
He was.
Which is what
I
we were
think in the
talking
cup
about
game.
earlier of like, scoring the goals when they matter and the big moments. And there were a couple of really pivotal games. I mean, every freaking game after January felt like it was pivotal. I mean, we all lived it, but like he really stepped up in a couple of those really key moments that for me saved it. It saved it. It saved his sort of, prestige in my mind that counterbalanced, some of the stinkers that he had as well.
Yeah, he's had some big games in Europe too, like the Atalanta, and I think there was another one this year where he was like just immense, and so he does have that in him, but then he does have some stinkers in him, obviously. But I guess I think throwing on Iheanacho at 45 minutes was a bold move from Martin, and it definitely made a difference. He was. You could just see the class in him when he comes on. Like Chris, I mean, what did you think of Iheanacho when he came on?
To sort of piggyback the first half. The first half was terrible, right? Just start to finish with everybody was like, a bird dog trying to shoot a peach seed. It wasn't happening, and it was almost like nobody wanted to make a mistake.
Almost spit my beer out there.
And there was a very tentative amount of injuries, like a very tentative outlook at everything that happened in the first half. So all that aside, halftime, Iheanacho comes on. Personally, I think it was the right decision. You know, Hearts, they at least have a defense that has some size to them. So Iheanacho gives you at least some of that presence. Hopefully, holding up the ball, you know, can go out wide for Dyson. It makes things easier after you've been playing a certain way for 45 minutes and just, you know, been doing nothing but chasing your tail. So but I also think you know, that was kind of a bold decision by Martin O'Neill to make that.
As early as he did.
Yeah, I mean, because
Yeah.
like we haven't seen Iheanacho come on anything more than 30 minutes, like
Right.
all season. So to stick him on and say that you're there for 45 minutes and you better suck it up and do it. I mean, that's a bold statement. And, you know, to his credit, I thought he did great.
Yeah, I mean, you like the thing you notice about him more than anything is just his touch is like insane compared to like anybody else we have at Celtic, really, particularly a striker. Like Dyson's been a little bit lately with kind of a little bit better in hold up play and get you know, making those good touches. But I mean, Iheanacho is just another level that anything we have and probably anything in Scotland as a whole. And like you saw it on his, particularly on the one that when he hit the post, it was that little turn, that little touch. I can't remember what the Hearts defender was, who he just totally lost.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, it's brilliant. We just don't have that guy, and it would have been such an amazing difference if he would have been able to give us more minutes this season. I don't know if that's ever going to be possible from him, but like could have been a big difference maker, I think. I don't know what. Hail Sean, R.I.P. I don't know what that's about.
Dark.
What's that mean, Milky?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Death wish.
Yes.
R.I.P. to you too.
But I don't know if having the Osman on the bench was kind of in place of Hatate, maybe if that's who he did put in above him, is that if he was going to throw Iheanacho on and Iheanacho only could give him 30 minutes to be able to throw Osman on at the end, but they ended up needing to use him just to get an extra striker on there. So I don't know if that was Martin's thinking, like who knows, but like whatever.
Well, at that point, we didn't have any other choice. You know, I mean, it was all to play for. And if in that context, you can't dig down and find something a little more than, you know, I got nothing for you. You know,
yeah.
It's as the great, another Philly reference, as the great immortal Apollo Creed once said, "There is no tomorrow."
That's right.
And there was no tomorrow for Derek McInnes.
Yeah. And will there be a tomorrow for him going forward? Who knows? But yeah, and then the other subs who came on in the second half, I think, and that's been a pretty much consistent theme for much of at least the last couple months. We've had subs who have come on and make a massive difference, and you could throw like Srirachi almost as much as anybody. He was a huge difference maker. Forrest was good when he came on. Obviously, Osman with a goal and assist. Like our subs have been huge, particularly in the you know, the post split and those times getting us over the line. But
and I love that video that they released of you know, Martin in the dressing room, you know, bringing Srirachi up and giving him, you know, some praise and some flowers, as the kids say. You know, it's just it's great to see it, but it's such a glimpse into Martin as a man manager. You know, it's why he gets the best out of the players that he has, and I phrase it that way from the standpoint of like he just has what he has. You know, and that's maybe a discussion for another time, but I think we can all agree that, you know, this side was devastatingly lacking, you know, and it's been a long time that has led to this. It's been a lot of neglect that has led to this circumstance. And that's the thing that speaks to me about this season is like, I can't believe that they were able to do this. And it comes back to Martin. I cannot believe that he was able to string together this team, to win the title. We're talking about the subs and bringing them on and, trying to strategically, piece them in or whatever. But it's because that's what he had to do. He didn't have any other choice. We don't have a striker that can last 90 minutes, bona fide striker that can last 90 minutes. And the fact that he was able to, get the results that he got, that the team got, it's just, I can't believe it. And it's extraordinary.
Sad.
Build him a statue, damn it. I mean, he should have gotten a statue just for coming back at all.
Absolutely.
74 years old, and he's enjoying his life, and he had his legacy, and he could have just rode off into the sunset. He doesn't need this shit. He's supposed to be enjoying life, and then Desmond brings him back, and look what he did. I mean, we owed him a debt of gratitude before any of this happened, and shit, after this, oh my God, build him a damn statue already.
No,
Give
I
him a
agree.
permanent job.
Build him a stand at the in the stadium. Jesus.
It's remarkable.
I think we briefly talked about it earlier, but this comment from Strange Love is 100% true. That was a really massive moment in the game. I know, James, you're our resident Hearts expert. The moves that McInnes made in order to try to get around that that was even odd too. I felt like
the central platform for Derek McInnes' game model this season was having both Beningame and Devlin in his cherished 4-4-2, because he needs both of them to run around like lunatics to cover the amount of space that's left by his man marking system. And when you take either one of those two guys away, as Devlin got hurt in mid-January, that started the process of them starting to kind of, they dropped points to Livingston, they dropped points to Dundee, they dropped points to St. Mirren in March. So I think all three of those were in March. So they were kind of limping towards the split. And this game was kind of a microcosm of that, in that was such a seminal part, because it then triggered the same problem that he had over that period in the season broadly, is that then he starts thinking. And again, I'm going to be uncharitable, different than I am on my own show, is thinking is not Derek McInnes' best quality. And so all you need to do, again, it's I mean, it gets asinine, some of the stuff that he does. I mean, his bright idea was to play Kingsley, who's a left center back, in a back three. I get real jerky about this stuff because I spent a lot of time studying USG in Belgium to try and figure out what Hearts is probably going to look like once Bloom comes in. And it's nothing like what McInnes did this season. And everyone's giving him and Hearts all this plaudits because it's Bloom. He's been so far off the reservation, it's not even funny. And an example of that is Kingsley is actually a pretty good left center back in the USG type system in a back three. He sure as hell is not a right fullback in a back four or a wing back in a back five on the right side. So I think what happened when Beningame went off was that triggered him flailing about. And in fairness to him, and Hearts, I mean, they've been devastated in midfield by injury. McEntee was out, Magnuson was out. Their record signing, Ajew, didn't even really play this season because of chronic injuries. So he was already kind of stress tested. And again, because he's not very good at that part of managing, he starts Altena, who's a wing back or a right back, at left midfield. Okay, so guess what happens when Benigame goes off and he does the sub in reaction. It was drawn out by Martin O'Neill, switch to Iheanacho. He brings on Kent to go to a back five, and then so he loses a substitution window. And then when Benigame goes off hurt, he only brings one guy in. So he crippled himself by being a dope in reacting to Iheanacho coming on with a harebrained tactical setup. So the Benigame injury started the cascade of him being a moron. That's kind of my distillation. And the lack of him using these subs in a stupid way, the manifestation of that was partly Devlin was out on his feet. I mean, I felt, as much as I can, I felt like on a basic human level, he was trying to run around. He just had nothing left. I mean, you could see the guy was completely exhausted. And a bunch of guys were like that. But so he ended up, Derek McKinnon set up with a back five with Blair Spittle as his central defensive midfielder in the midfield three and Alan fucking Forrest as his left central midfielder. Like, this is what this rocket scientist was trying to win the league with. And all the stuff that Graham was talking about as far as, Srirachi and all the stuff in the second half and the substitutions we made, all valid, I would argue, and important. And the guys did their jobs and were tremendous. They were excellent. But they were also enabled by Hearts being a complete mess. So as much as they were absolutely tremendous in the first half, Hearts, they were totally flipped. They were a diabolical mess in the second half. Which was glorious to me because, again, I despise the man. But I don't know if that's come through at all. But
Jeez, James, I mean, when you put it that way, he is an imbecile. You're right. Yeah.
I mean, you could see it. It was noticeable that, particularly as it got further and further into the game, then the middle of the park was just wide open, like insanely wide open.
And that side that we were ripping them apart with Srirachi, he had Chesnikov as a right wing back. The dude's at best a winger. Like, he's more of an inverted forward. He's like Scott Sinclair-like guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Imagine putting Scott Sinclair. You're trying to win the league in the last day of the season, and you put Scott Sinclair at wing back.
Yeah.
I mean, moron stuff. So I'm sorry.
No, you're good. We need to follow up that.
I love it.
You make some valid points here.
We need
to
follow
love
up
Blair
that.
Spittle, by the way. I've loved Blair Spittle as a player since he was at Motherwell. Like, I think he's a really good, but he's not a defensive midfielder. I mean, what are we doing here?
We need to bring it back down to our level of this podcast with David's comment.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm just joking.
I just got here. Proceed.
But I guess we start at Srirachi, like I said, and it takes it back to like the absolute wide open middle of the field. I mean, the winner from Maeda started with Srirachi almost probably at the edge of the 18 almost on our end, and able to dribble to midfield and give it up, get it back, and then he goes around Devlin and puts in that little through ball to Osmond, who cuts back to Dyson and Dyson another just great finish, like probably harder than it looked. I mean, it looks like he just beats the goalie. It
was the timing.
Yeah, it's just perfect.
The timing of his run was, just exceptional, and he didn't give up on the play. I mean, he was just right there, didn't lay back, just timed it perfectly, and was there. And I mean, the finish was clinical. Don't get me wrong, but there was 3 steps before it that set all that up, and it was the run, it was the timing. I mean, granted, and I saw a comment earlier about this, and it's fair. He went through Dyson. He went through a large stretch of the season where he disappeared, and there were other things going on, whatever. But man, in the run in, just heroic.
6 goals and 1 assist in 5 games.
Yeah,
Jeez.
absolutely heroic.
When we desperately needed it.
Yep. I mean,
And
And you could-
3 of those games were effectively 1-goal games.
Mhm.
Yep.
I mean, the Hearts game was a 1-goal game until the glory.
yeah. And
One
we'll
goal,
get to that
17 heart attacks.
one. But I mean, so first things first, like how the linesman raises his flag on that play, I will not understand, because unless he's just looking down the line and thinks that Maeda is Osmond, like I can't really rationalize it.
That's the only thing that I could riddle is that he didn't get a clear sight of where the ball was being played into, and out of an abundance of caution, or in favor to his lodge. I mean, he raised the flag, just in the off chance that the ball was played in towards Maeda, which in that case it would have been offside, but it wasn't. But Maeda wasn't part of the play, as we all know. Wasn't part of the play at that moment, and they got the decision right in the end. But it was on the far side of the field. If we're going to give the benefit of the doubt here to the linesman, which we won't, but if we were,
that's the only thing I could.
riddle.
So like I said, I was at the plow watching that, and so in that time, so it's quiet pretty much in there. The 30, 45 seconds, however long it took before Don Robertson gave the goal, and you couldn't hear was it Crocker announced on the one broadcast like that it's going to be a goal, and then so you still had to wait another few seconds. But David, who was in the comments and he's been on our show with us, I was watching with him for 30 seconds straight. It was like, that has to be a fucking goal. That has to be a fucking goal. That has to be a fucking. And thankfully it was given. And I feel like it had to be, but and you could see what it meant to Dyson, which was his reaction to it was amazing. Chris, what's your reaction to the goal down in Bell Buckle?
The goal itself, watching it live, immediately I'm like, it's in the back of the net. Let's go. Let's keep going here, right? But I knew that when they flagged it for offside, because I'm sitting here and that was one of the only plays that I can specifically go, I remember watching this live, right? And the ball's here, it's doing this, Calvin Osmond's doing this, Dyson's here, da 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 da, and then I kept replaying it, and I'm like, why did he throw his flag up, right? But everything gets stopped and checked, right? And the whole time I'm like, man, I don't know if and people have said after the fact, post match or whatever, that it was offsides, da 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 da. It's clearly onside. He was always onside. There was never offside in that play and that build up at all. But they made it they got another fluke kind of goal, and it had to be checked, and fuck you, man. It's complete and total bullshit, right? That was an onside goal from the very start, and the fact that they stopped it should tell you about the reaction that they all had to storming the field, or the handball last week, or whatever their narrative of what Scottish football has become, this place of chaos where the referees are in it for Celtic and all this bullshit. You go back and watch that play live, he's onside the whole fucking time.
Chris, it's a Fenian conspiracy. You know it, and I know it.
Yeah, but it just that play. They've referenced it several times that Celtic got that offside, goal or whatever. There was no offside. It should have never been offside. It was only offside because the guy raised his flag. And you know, I just there's just this narrative of Celtic gets these decisions, but when you raise a flag for an offside decision that was given, and there's absolutely no offside, go fuck yourself.
That's kind of how I was feeling. But you know what it did give us, though, and I'll show up the comment from where is it? Ben. You're right. I mean, Ben at the Caymans, it gave us some great videos of reactions because we got the secondary celebration for the goal, which is like the new VAR thing. Like you have to celebrate a goal twice, and we did. And I saw Ben's on Instagram from down in the Caymans, and it was awesome. Like, and not only that, I think I saw it from the Fenian boys in New York and multiple places, and like, so it was, fun seeing those celebrations, and I got to experience it a little bit at the Plow, and the reaction to that play was still, like you said, I don't understand how the flag gets raised in the first place, other than Matt.
I mean,
mistaken who you're looking down the line at, or you're just like a fucking cheat. But Dr. J, are you drinking Creature Conference tonight, Chris?
I am.
Good eye, Dr. J.
Little Tropicalia.
I didn't even notice. But so now it's 87 minutes. Actually, probably by the time the VAR check is done, it's almost close to 90 minutes, right? When, and then it goes to 8 minutes extra time, or maybe it's stoppage time. And Hearts gets a few opportunities where they're able to, put the ball into the box. And, anytime, one, they're good at that. Two, we're bad at that. So anything can happen at that point. And it gets to, and, Srirachi getting into it with Shankland on the sideline, and they both get yellow cards. Dyson, it was awesome. Dyson getting into it with Shankland, which was great. Just great seeing Dyson. Like, you could tell. I mean, he was in the left, like the corner, defending a few times. Like, he was just fucking everywhere. Like, and like nobody wanted that game more than him. Which was, I mean, he's amazing. He's just such a unique player. I can't think of any other player I've ever seen anywhere in the world who plays
runs like a snow leopard.
Yeah. So
he only has one gear. Like he doesn't. There is no trot with Maida. Like he's just running like the cops are chasing him all the time. That's it.
And he makes it look effortless.
And the amount of minutes he's played has just been and not been injured. It's incredible. Superhuman type stuff.
Yeah, that's like listening to Callum Osman talking about him. And did you see that in his little press conference? I think it was today or yesterday. Like, and he was like, I tried to talk to Dyson about but the language barrier is tough, basically. And it's like, I would love to know his diet plan and basically how he does it. I wish I would too. I don't think I could do it. Like Ben said, I think like McGregor was everywhere in stoppage time. The one thing I'll say, like that the foul he gave away right on the free kick on the last play of the game, I felt like it was just stupid. Just gave him that one more opportunity.
Thought, like, why in the hell are you doing that?
Yep.
But that, I mean,
good
the last play is the last play is iconic. And just one of the top moments in my watching sports ever. Eagles, Super Bowls, anything. Like, it was such a release of the relief of that we got there, and it was like, I don't know, James, how did you like? I'll let you like describe that last play. Like,
well, I have a barbell approach. I have what I've found so far in listening and watching all the aftermath of the game, an insight that I haven't seen anyone else mention, and then I have a gripe. And so the insight is we were absolutely terrific on that free kick. Not only Iheanacho closing out Devlin,
Yeah.
but more importantly, and it didn't end up mattering, but it very well might have, was the defensive line in unison sprinted out. So that there was only one Hearts guy that would have been onside. The rest of them were offside. So if that ball had
That's
deflected
a great point.
in behind, I think it was only Braga that would have been onside. Everyone else would have been offside. And it was because our guys in the 98th minute, or whatever the hell it was, 97th, 98th minute, all probably exhausted, did the thing that they were supposed to do when the chips were down, and sprinted their ass out and did that. So I thought that was just terrific that they did that in that situation. It just takes one guy to be, a little bit lax there. And it could have played, 3 guys onside. And they did. I mean, they had 3 or 4 guys on the right side of the goal, the goal mouth, looking at the goal mouth. That if the ball deflects, or if, Devlin was someone other than Cammy Devlin and played a pass on that direction, they were all wide open. So, because it was a scramble, so understandably. So that's the positive. The negative is, I think this game highlighted there had to have been something going on in the summer into the early part of the season, that Brendan Rodgers tried to ram Osmond into the 5th tier of Scottish fucking football. Like, it's insulting now at this point. Simpson Poussey has started in the Bundesliga for the entirety of the second half of the season at Cologne, and he tried to ram him down in the 5th division. Scottish football too, right? Inamura's doing very well in Japan, playing for FC Tokyo, and they're second in the table in this tournament that they're doing in Japan before they realign their calendar. So I wanted to mention that too, because Osmond changed this game as well, even more so than Iheanacho. He's the one that played the pass into Iheanacho that Iheanacho, hit the post. I mean, he was all over the place. His movement was brilliant. His touch was brilliant. I mean, he was just terrific. And he was terrific for that cameo that he had before he ripped his hamstring under Martin O'Neill's first tenure. So it's insulting that these guys weren't good enough to play for Celtic. And, I'm not Dermot Desmond's biggest fan, but maybe there was something to his statement. Maybe there was something to his statement, because it seems to me, the way that these chips have folded, that Brendan Rodgers was actively harming the club by not playing some of these guys. And Osmond being the poster child that, effectively won the league between that cutback to Maeda and ultimately the 3rd goal. So I just want to throw that up there too. It's mystifying that he wasn't seen as someone who should be getting minutes early in the season. It's not like we were, up to our eyeballs in strikers.
That's
So
true.
it's
Exactly.
crazy.
Why not?
Yeah.
So anyway.
I just want to point something out too, Dr. J in the comments, trying to play it off like Osmond was the cause for him hugging random men. I won't say anything.
I'll say I was hugging a few
Usually
random
many
men as
knows.
well.
It's usually many knows.
That's a good point, yes.
And I did the same thing, I would say, which was weird. And the whole play. Have you ever seen a goal like that? I mean, particularly in that moment. But it was in the bar. It was surreal. It was
bad.
How 10 seconds of celebrating a goal before it happened, like hugging people before a goal happens, and then you're just waiting for it to happen. And like I said, it was just like it was a build-up for the entire season, I think, of what we all went through. And like I said in the beginning, like we suffered, and like it was our reward. I felt like to get that in the end, and God, it was amazing. I was jumping up and down. Like I said, I was hugging, like Dr. J, hugging random people, and it was I can't think of a better sporting moment in my life.
The closest thing that I can think of, to the question you asked, the closest thing that I can think of is maybe the Tony Watt goal, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I mean, you saw the run in from Tony, and it's like, oh, it's just him, and he had a couple of games before then when he looked really good, and you just knew he was scoring, but not even that was close. That's the closest, and wasn't even close to it. I mean, it's just but you know what? And the finish to this game was really a microcosm to the season. Where it was like just completely shambolic, to start with, and then in the middle, and then, well, we got a little glimmer of hope, and then it's like, this isn't going to happen, and what the hell? And then, we get the goal at the end, and then it's like, oh shit, like, can we hold on? And then that happens at the end, It's just a microcosm, really, of the season, in a certain way.
No, I think you're right. I mean,
it didn't have random and very awkward outbursts from Dermot Desmond in the middle of the game. I think that's where the analogies drop off, but I digress.
Well, what did the tifo say, that there's a fairy tale about this club?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, if you watched every minute of that match, start to finish, and you don't feel something, you need to go get checked out. I mean, because that, like, the level of emotion that was overflowing in that place was just, I mean, it's just off the charts, man. Like, I know this is going to probably lead into the pitch invasion, which, to be fair, right?
Invasion.
Like the quote unquote pitch invasion should have never happened. Players and supporters need to be separated for whatever, security purposes and whatever. I get it. And they shouldn't have entered the field, but to say that they were doing the same things that we dealt with, a month and a half ago.
Exactly.
Right.
Those things weren't happening. Like, I saw
Exactly.
people running around, I saw a bunch of wings getting pictures taken with Callum Osmond and Daza Maeda and Callum McGregor. That's what I saw. But fair play enough that, they shouldn't have entered the pitch. But to your point that it was the microcosm of the season, I think that's why that goal in particular is always going to live out in my memory. At least is that, like, how many times did we just get punched and punched and punched and punched and punched and punched and punched, and then all of a sudden you go, oh my God, we've been here all along. Congratulations, fantastic,
Right.
Enjoy yourself, right?
It was
phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal way to end, a match.
Yeah.
Incredible.
and a season.
And the season, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with the pitch, like I said, invasion. But the only thing, like,
I don't either. I loved it.
Run.
I'm gonna be
I'd
honest,
keep
I
it.
loved it.
Stay
And I
away
loved
from the
how
Hearts.
angry they were about it.
I would
loved
stay
it.
away from Hearts players. I
I loved it.
that can, like, the video of Shanklin shoving the guy who's running towards him. I have literally no fucking problem at all with Shanklin doing that. Like the Celtic fan should not be doing that. But as for players fans running onto the field to celebrate with Celtic players, like, whatever, I'm down. I have no problem with that.
I loved it, and I loved how angry they were about it. I loved it. After the game, and they're like, "Well, that shouldn't have happened," as if this was played at Tynecastle and the roles were reversed. They would be saying the same thing. Would they? No, of course they wouldn't. It'd be the massive outpouring of emotion and the release. You can see it, but it happened at Celtic Park, and it was our supporters, and I'm long past giving a fuck about that narrative or whatever.
Agreed.
I loved it. It was beautiful.
I was listening to James's show today, and I think it was Alan who put. Was it Alan who had the IFAB laws?
IFAB, yeah.
Yeah. And he does make good points, but I don't know. I do think it's one of those. And I had been a referee in other sports, so like I get it. You have to stick to the rules or the laws of the game, whatever. But the laws of the game, if that's what they were, like they probably weren't followed to a T by Don Robertson. But I think you needed to make exceptions.
Yeah. So
cases.
what I said on our show, and I agree with Graham, like on a human emotional level, 100%. But I also agree with Sean in that, and it wasn't a lot of people, but when you have even a small number of people engaged in physical confrontations with players, and I'm not saying there was any altercations physically that anyone hurt anyone. I don't think there's been any evidence of that. But to get up in players' faces and to antagonize and act in an aggressive physical manner, that, when you're talking about a stadium of 60,000 people where people have invaded the pitch, is how riots start.
Yeah, that's
Right?
pretty scary stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
let's say one of these guys did slip and end up hitting Trip and fall into Shanklin, and they end up in fisticuffs. Who thinks anyone's going to jump in on either? You know what I mean? Like, this stuff catches on like a wildfire pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think people are a little cavalier with what this could have been because of that. Like, if it was just, this is why I said on our show, like, to draw the analogy between like Grimsby Town and Manchester United. If it was only guys like it was at Ibrox, or like it was at Kilmarnock earlier in the season when Araujo scored, or, you know, when it's people jumping out in pure joy. But when you're over and making a physical confrontation with players, that's the line that can't be crossed. So you can't launder this into something that it wasn't for those small number of people, and the severity that could have been, which is why the police were involved. It's just these people do have jobs to do. You can't be allowing a riot to start. And to say that something really bad here could have happened if somebody just lost their cool a little hotter than they did. So I hate to be the asshole to say it like this, but I'm thankful it didn't turn into something truly ugly. And I agree that it's, people are weaponizing it and using it to, be dickheads about it. There's no question about that. But I also don't think it's, wise to disregard the severity of what it could have been.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. I think that's a very that was the point that I was trying to make, is that, like, I understand why it happened. It shouldn't have happened. But I feel like there is a double standard in especially in Scottish media, especially with the narrative of this, cheating and corruption bullshit that they've all been doing for a while. Right. When there's pictures literally of people in Kilmarnock, the entire field is full of people. Mm-hmm. Or Gary Lineker, he's saying all of the things that have happened post match about Celtic, and they were on the field and and now there was this and I don't know if it's social media or whatever that was talking about, well, the referees never blew the whistle, they're going to deduct points and give the championship to Hearts because of the pitch invasion. And it, like, it's like everything else in the world, it gets thrown into left field and it never comes back, until you talk to the guy that has tinfoil on his hat, right? And I see a narrative where there's a media double standard when they say, oh, Celtic fans invaded the pitch and they were being violent. Well, I can understand how you would come across a barrier to start hugging random people when your team just did something that nobody thought was possible. So I mean, like, there has to be a balance between those two, to say that not everybody was in the right, not everybody was in the wrong. it shouldn't have happened. We should go forward and address these things and make sure that, to your point, James, that, players don't have to interact face to face with physical contact from, somebody that, some random person. Right. But
well, and to your point, Chris, the fact that people in the media were reporting falsehoods or at least unprovable yet, without evidence yet, that there was any violence, actual physical violence. So that I'm in 100% agreement with. I mean but again, this is where I think it's important to keep context of what actually did happen, because this is what I said on our show. People fall under the tribes, and then it becomes binary, and then our side says it was just a joyous pitch invasion, which is total bullshit, and their side says, oh my God, they were killing people with machetes, and it's like, well, truth is somewhere in the middle, and some of it was really bad and not good, and most of it was just people celebrating, but
Agreed.
But I don't think that we can have a real serious conversation about this until these sorts of situations are treated equally and analyzed equally, and that's the shame of it. But I would agree completely. I mean, nobody at any point can advocate for the acceptance of people violently confronting players or anybody, in an official capacity on the pitch. We cannot advocate for that or accept it, because it's unacceptable. Yeah, running out on the pitch because you can't believe what you just saw there's an ocean between that and suggestions that somebody stabbed Shanklin with a trident.
I mean, you can take it back to the Motherwell game on Wednesday last week. The reaction to the penalty is the same. It's more vilifying to Celtic if a play like that happens than if it happened to Rangers or Hearts or whatever it is. So take it back to this situation with the pitch, the fans coming on the pitch. It's the same. It's a pile on against Celtic. I feel like in a lot of ways that the media this last whole week and beyond, obviously, but more so this week has been insane with the reaction, starting with that penalty against Motherwell. From the media, from everybody you see out. And like James said, it becomes tribal in a lot of ways, and I don't know. You can kind of, I think, make a contrast between those two things, the pitch invasion and the penalty last week, which is just, it's insane. But I think if Don Robertson probably brought the teams back onto the field for 30 seconds and finished the game, maybe that's the best way he could have handled it. But at the same time, I feel like common sense says there's 30 seconds left. There's not the result is not going to change. They're
not going to be happy until they bring us back on the pitch long enough for us to lose. Mm-hmm. It'll be something else. Right. And I don't know, we have to play another 30 minutes. I don't know. We have to play another 30 minutes. And the penalty especially is the perfect embodiment of what I was talking about, where I don't care anymore about, the narrative. And it used to bother me so much, listening to, Clyde and all the other just with the agendas and everything, it used to bother me so much. And I've just reached a point where I don't care anymore. I like it. I love the fact that they are so angry that we got a penalty that they don't think we should have gotten. How many times have we lived through those types of situations? Yeah. And, there's never been an eyelash even batted at it, and now it comes our way and they feel hard done by. I love it. I love it.
Poor Ronnie Dyla should have had a trouble.
Right. I don't care anymore. I love it. I
Yeah.
want
And this
I
is
want to
true.
hear the complaining, not from the standpoint of, where in times past I would have been, wanting to shout back like, that's just wrong and like, and now I'm like, yeah, tell me more. I want to hear your pain.
Tell me more.
Keep it going, baby. I love it.
Well, and that's so part of what Alan Morrison from Celtic by Numbers has done with his analysis on the refereeing is it really does contextualize what's happened, which is we've gone from the Crawford Allen period where things were skewed in one club's general direction. And then now that the randomness is actual randomness, like crap referees
Yes.
making bad calls with an audience filled with people, including myself, by the way. I'm not slinging arrows anywhere other than at myself, that don't know the laws of the game that well as, to be railing about calls all the time like we do as supporters. So you have massive randomness, incompetence with people that don't know what the hell the rules are and the laws are. This is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And as Alan has said, you have certain fans that are used to getting all the calls. Now getting their share of random shit feels like a calamity.
And it's like, no fair.
Right. It's no fair. We're used to getting all the calls.
But
So,
it's interesting where my personal take. We've been saying for years that the standard of refereeing is atrocious, and now that I love the way that you put it, the randomness and the bounce of the ball goes against them. I would have no problem if they were more stringent and did investigations around, the referee to make it more accurate and competent and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great to have a game that was officiated to the highest levels, to the highest standards, and accept the outcome, whatever it is. But
Yep.
Yeah.
in the decades where that hasn't been the case, and we've not been the beneficiary, like ever. Nobody seemed to be too concerned about it. Well, it'd be interesting to see, if that concern is now taken up by the SFA and others.
and we had 3 calls that were legitimately title-winning calls, all correct,
Mm-hmm.
corrected from VAR.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the only reason that happened is because Willie Collum shone a light on the shit show that was going on through his VAR show and started making an example of guys that were not doing their job publicly and humiliating them.
Mm-hmm.
So there has been they've gone from complete 100% shit to maybe 50% shit. Like they have improved since VAR came in. And honestly, since Collum started this
Diet
process
shit.
2 seasons ago. Yeah, they're less shit than they were, which is good. That's improvement. They're not where they need to be, obviously, but
Yeah.
the transparency and the accountability. And again, this is all common sense shit, right?
Right.
That's how you get, people at work, they tend to do a better job if there's transparency and accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honest treatment. So yeah, I mean, that's the other part of this. So this is why the knives are out for Column, the knives are out for VAR, is because they don't want transparency, they don't want accountability, they want it the way it used to be.
Yeah. They're talking big though.
Justice for Dougie McDonald.
They're talking big, like they want to invest the money from that Scotland gets for the World Cup in VAR, but like I feel like that's only gonna hurt them more. I mean, I can think I've talked about it all the time with like how I feel like how poor the VAR system is. Some of the offsides angles that they're chalking off goals for is ridiculous. And I mean, go back to that. I think it was Jota Motherwell, like 2 years ago, maybe. It was like,
Egregious.
and the angle they used was from like the other side of the field. Like there's just no, and like Kyogo had to go against the Huns at Ibrox. The angle that they're using is ridiculous, and we don't like. Scotland, I guess, just doesn't have the money to, or the SPFL as SFA, whatever, doesn't have the money to, put into it. To get more of those calls fixed would be great. If you're gonna have VAR, you have to, I think, make it to a decent level, and it's not at a decent level, even though they've gotten it right recently. At the
We
end
win
of
a
the
couple
season,
more titles like this, Sean. I guarantee you they'll find the money. That money, all of a
so
sudden,
that's not gonna hurt. It's not gonna help them.
Look at this.
I feel
We
like it's
found
only
some
gonna help
money.
us. But I don't know. So again, like I said at the start, that's our and I'll throw it to you. For me, it's of any Celtic title that I have celebrated, this one was far and away the best. Chris, I'll go to you first. Is this your favorite?
I mean, it was up there. It was definitely up there. Probably this match in particular against Hearts, probably one of the top 5 matches that I've ever seen. Whether I was watching on TV or in person or whatever, just because of the just all of the mud we all rode through this year, and we don't know what's going to happen. It was very tough to watch. Players' injuries. I mean, Wilfred Nancy. It's just like everything that you can think of got thrown into a blender, and we got served this. And at first it tasted kind of rough, and I don't know if I'm going to get this through. And then once you got it finished, man, I felt great, and like a match like that, winning the way that we did. Just it's remarkable, man. It's absolutely remarkable, with all of the mess and the mud and the nastiness that came with every part of this season. To come out champions, man. Hats off to every single one of us. You know what I mean? It's really
Agreed.
it's truly something to behold when you can be through thick and thin with the squad and watch them week in, week out, and all the little intricacies. I'll get it in a minute. You get all that stuff right, and you're so invested in this, and it comes down to the last day, and 78th minute goal happens, and then the end of the way that it did. I mean, it's just there's nothing more that I can say other than I love Celtic Football Club, man. I love Celtic.
Yeah, I would agree. I was start before I ask Graham and James the same question, and I was trying to think of this quote, but it's perfect. In terms when we're going back to the referee discussion, and that's 100%. I was going to start to try and say that, but it just wasn't going to come out. So,
spot on.
Yep, exactly. But James, how about you? Sweetest title yet, or do you have a better one?
So for me, it's been, and again, because we're the North American / American podcast, I'll use an analogy here. This was the closest to an MLB pennant race. Meaning that people that are baseball fans know when you get in a pennant race, baseball is like an everyday sport, and the anxiety of each one of those games when it's coming down in the pennant race to try and win a division, it's every day. The anxiety, the stress is palpable, and I think because this came down to the wire, and it's been so rare for that to happen. I mean, it's been so long since Celtic had actual jeopardy into May. In even mid-May, it was by far the most kind of stressful and entertaining in that sense from a jeopardy perspective. I'm fearful that this is the end of an era and I'm not going to get into that because we're choiceful this week. The one I enjoyed the most of recent time was actually the 21-22 season, because I thought we were both in jeopardy that season, going up what was a good Rangers side that ended up going to a UEFA Cup final. So again, they probably the best version of this version of Rangers was that season and the following season. And the fact that, and people kind of, I think, forget the timeline of Andrew's first season and how bad the first 3 months were. And that we were in 6th the second week of October in the table. And so I remember on our show in January, like most people were just throwing up the white flag already, or a lot of people were, that we weren't going to win the league. So that one was the one that I kind of still hold out as, like, because I thought we were still kind of on the ascent at that point. I worry that this is kind of a last gasp title win, and that particularly Hearts are on the ascent. But that's for another day. But yes, tremendous, terrific, enjoyable, and just adrenaline fueled last month. I mean, the last month has just been tremendous.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Agreed.
And that's like I've talked about my friend who I said I'm cultivating as a Celtic fan for the last few years, and he like has been. I think he enjoys it, but then got to the point where he's like, does this get boring? Because like we win the league like by far every year, and then like last year when Aberdeen started off well, he was like, ooh, this could be interesting, and Aberdeen totally fell apart, and then Hearts actually stuck with it this year. And all season I was pushing back on him, like, nah, it's better when it's better when we win the league by, by far, and like it's a afterthought. But I can say, like, yeah, I did this last few months of the season. I did thoroughly enjoy. I mean, outside of some of the poor Celtic performances, but it was overall an enjoyable experience, and particularly that we actually got it over the line. I would probably have a different opinion if we did not win the league, but I don't know. I don't want to do this again, though. Let's win the league by 15 points next year.
Get used to it, but
Yeah.
but again, there was so many I can't believe that just happened moments.
Yeah.
That the Dyson Maeda overhead bicycle kick.
Right.
Yeah, I
Where
think
the hell did that come from?
exactly. There's so many plays, and like that's what I said. Like the video that they put out today, Celtic put out today with all the late winners. I mean, if one or two of those games doesn't happen, like
It's
we
over.
don't win the league. Like, and it's insane. And there was
And we're
one.
having a different
I'm-
conversation
yeah.
right now.
Yeah, and me and Graham, I was talking with Graham before we got on here live about that, and it's like there was games that I forgot about. I'm like, oh shit, I totally forgot about that play. Like there was, because it was, so long ago. But we got winners early in the season, like against St. Mirren and Aberdeen and Dundee, that you forgot about, and every one of those plays was humongous. And
Turned out
in
to
terms
be,
of winning the league, it turned out to be, like, you're right. But
Well, I remember thinking every time those types of things would happen, I remember thinking, we're in trouble because we can't, this can't keep happening. This is going to catch up to us. And it never did, which is unbelievable.
well,
Yeah.
I think again, this is where I got to be my usual dickhead self. I think we can't underestimate how bad Hearts and Rangers were. So while we won the league with 82 points, and both of those teams kind of limping towards the finish line. So while it was great, we won those last 7 games. We needed a lot of fortune to do it, and we needed Motherwell not to get a handball against Hearts, which was probably a handball. If we take a truce there, probably a handball.
But I could say there was another handball on Kent at the end of that game.
I know. I'm just saying that they break.
Yeah,
right?
but you're right.
I've been writing a column for our site for the last month, basically after every game, called Fine Margins, and chronicling how close this really is and how much of it's just the bounce of the fucking ball. And we you know, it's like we hit 16 5 times in a row and bang, we won every hand.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it happens
Yeah.
sometimes. That's the way it works.
Yeah,
It feels
absolutely.
good.
It
Yeah,
does.
I
I mean,
It feels real good.
right.
Yeah,
It feels real
it
good. It's just as we project into the future, I wouldn't make my plans for next season assuming we're going to hit 16 5 times and win it every time.
I'm
There needs to
worried
be a
about that
big overhaul.
when we need to worry about that.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
But I'll throw the last one to you, Graham. Sweetest title yet for you, or do you have a better one?
I think, and the purpose of the conversation, I think we have to set aside the league that we won to stop 10 in a row. That's on a different stratosphere. So let's just set that aside. With that removed, you know, what I recall was it 08, Tannadice, last game of the season, helicopters going back and forth, and was it Hesselink that, you know, had the header right at the end to win the league, and we came back that year. I think it was striking second last year. I mean, there was a lot of drama, you know, with that, and it was a lot of excitement and suspense. Similar, you know, in certain ways to this season. Certainly not the storyline, but similar. The other title that really leaps out to me was the year that the Hunts went into administration, and we were all eating jelly and ice cream, you know, whatever the hell that was. You know, all of us in America got indoctrinated into jelly and ice cream. It's like, what the hell is this shit? And then by July, it was like, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, jelly and ice cream. Feed me that shit. That was, I mean, it was sweet. It wasn't the suspense and, you know, the spectacle, but damn, that felt good, you know, especially with everything that, you know, led up to that. But, you know, I think this feels different than either of those. I feel like it feels every bit as sweet, you know, as the jelly and ice cream days. But, you know, I think we've just become spoiled. I'm just going to be honest with this. Over the past decade, we've really become spoiled with the quality that Celtic has displayed domestically. Would love to see more in Europe, but you know, you mentioned we finished with 82 points. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Was it the 12-13 season? This is the season that you know, it was the Barcelona game. You know, we made it to the last 16 of the Champions League. That year we finished. We won the league with 79 points. You know, I don't remember that team being horrible. Of course, we did have a lot more European obligations, and you know, the Huns went down, and you know, you can argue there was you know, less in terms of the competition. I just lost one of my earbuds. Freaking old man with technology and shit. But you know, and then and you look at the 2011-2012 season. That was the jelly and ice cream season, and we finished with 81 points. You know, I don't remember that team being horrible, but I think it comes down to what separates this season was that we were always on a knife's edge, and we figured out some way to pull it out. You know, and from that perspective, it's more satisfying. And what sticks with me, I feel like we had a more balanced, more complete team in those teams that I cited. But it really comes back to, you know, the math doesn't line up. The equation doesn't work out without Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill
we haven't mentioned him enough tonight.
He was
Absolutely.
the difference. You know, and that's what feels great about it, you know, not only for what he did, but the story behind it. You know, he rides back in to save the day, and damn if he did save the day. You know, I mean, I love the man before he came back, but my God, I mean, he didn't have to do this. He doesn't need this shit. You know, but he did it anyway. You know, and I mean, it's just it's really hard to to put this into words and to really organize my thoughts, around it. It's an amazing feeling.
Huh? You're right. He doesn't have the years to lose watching Celtic like we did this year. Like it took years off my life, and I'm sure it took years off of his life. And it's not fair to him because, but he was amazing. And of anybody in the whole club that you could credit, like he deserves the most credit. And I've always been a huge fan of him, but I mean, I think there's been times in the season like where we're not. It's not the healthiest thing in the world that we brought him in after Brendan left the first time, and then had to bring him back in again after Wilfred Nancy left. Like it's not a healthy football club, obviously. So I don't know. I don't want to get negative, so I'm just gonna stop my thought right there.
Abort. Abort.
I'm about to stop.
Turn around.
About to go down a bad path, but yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Like this whole season was, and doing the podcast for the first time, I think has made me watch in more depth, and it's gotten me more into it even more so than I was, and I was a diehard before that. So like, I mean, my wife makes fun of me like how like insane I am sometimes, like, and I talked about it last week, the Ian Acho penalty. My reaction after that, like she's like, I wish I took a video of you. You look like a fucking lunatic. Like, but that's what happens. Like, it sucked me all into it. So,
Sean, all I can say is I know every word to that song. Every word.
Graham, you should move to Glasgow. The Huns would hate you. Yeah,
and
probably.
I would hate them too.
But yeah, so I mean, what a season! And I like I said, I don't want to, because I feel like the whole season has been negative for us, and less so lately as we've won 7 in a row to end the season. So like, I kind of want to.
In the league.
Yeah, in the league. Stay on those.
Still got a game left there.
Oh, I know, dude. I'm not. Well, we can dive into that next if you want. So yeah, we got Dunfermline in the Cup final this weekend on Saturday, and again, I will be back down the plow this weekend, and looking forward to that because I'm a diehard Philadelphia Plowboy. Since I paid my dues, and I'm gonna get all my money's worth. And we got Ray Coleman playing after the game, after the match. It's gonna be a good day out. My wife's coming down with me. It's gonna be awesome. But up against Lenny, I mean, I feel like you have to be confident going into this, but at the same time, I was confident last year that we were gonna win against Aberdeen, and that didn't work out. So I'll go to you, Chris. What's your confidence level going into Saturday?
I don't know that I would say sky high, but I mean, if you lose Saturday, there's something wrong. I mean, it's just I don't want to be mean about it like that. Like I don't. I mean, it's Lenny. But yeah, no, I like you've got to feel confident about going into this week. Not to be whatever, but just win. However that happens, just win.
6-0, I'll take. That'd be awesome. James, what's your confidence level? I mean, I don't know. I feel like we have to feel pretty good going into this, but
yeah, I think Neil Lennon has shown that he can set up a team to try and negate a much better team. So we'll give him that credit. Dunfermline have been, I would say, a bit inconsistent this season. They're actually an interesting club. I think they're probably going to get better over the next few seasons. They were actually bought by a couple of Americans, degenerate quants that do gambling in markets and are, I think, trying to replicate in their own way what Bloom's done. But they're very nascent in their project. So they've gone much younger, and they're doing some of the same stuff that you see at a lot of these kinds of clubs. So they've got some interesting players and some athletic players. They're going to come out shot like a cannon. I mean, they're not going to make it easy. And I think Lennon's competent enough that he'll have seen how we play and set up in a smart way. So we've had plenty of issues breaking down low blocks that are well organized, populated by a bunch of guys trying hard. So it wouldn't shock me if it takes to the 70th or 80th minute when we bring on our subs to make it comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, I'm confident, obviously, but I wouldn't necessarily be confident that we're going to blow them away in the first half. Kind of confident, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to make it hard for us because he'll have them set up pretty smart. And they've played mostly like 3-4-2-1, so they're going to set up kind of like Hibs do to make it kind of an analogy. And Hibs has given us plenty of problems at times this season. The way they set up, counterattacking, play narrow, let us have the ball out wide, cross the ball into the box, head it away, rinse and repeat. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get some of that. But ultimately, I mean, we should overwhelm them with our quality, obviously.
Yeah, you would hope. Took us a while against Auchinleck Talbot, so I don't know. I don't want to see more of that. Yeah, right.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Because again, they're.
I don't like Dr. J's prediction here, 2-1. That's frightening.
He didn't say to who. Hey, Dr. J, you better clarify.
That's been our season. So.
Yeah. Now, would I be stunned if we lost this game in penalties or even in regular time? No. I mean,
please. No.
If we can't hit the broadside of a barn finishing on a day, and they have 10 guys behind the ball for large swaths of the like the Akentashen or whatever it is.
Talbot. Yeah, it's the first time I've ever heard of them.
So. Yeah.
So I don't like that. I did see this. Dunfermline beat Celtic, and the Huns are in the Conference League. I don't think I want to lose just to make that happen.
I agree, but that would be a funny consolation.
Yes, it would. Graham, how about you? How are you feeling about going in this weekend?
I never feel good. I'm just that kind of guy. I'm with James where I wouldn't be surprised, if it comes down to penalties. One or two things is going to happen. Either we're going to come out and we're going to completely turn them over, with the jubilation and the fire and the energy and the wind behind us after, this game this past weekend. I would love to see that, but I've always felt that Neil Lennon as a tactician has been underrated. I think he knows how to set up a team and to insulate, against the strengths of, the opposing side. And that's exactly what I would expect out of this. Of course, he's going up against Martin O'Neill, and I've developed a very high opinion of Sean Maloney, as well. I think that he's shown a lot. I mean, I've said a lot about Martin O'Neill, but you can't forget about Sean Maloney and the impact that he's certainly had. We know Neil Lennon's not going to make any substitutions until the 83rd minute because that's what he freaking does. Just doing my tits in forever with that shit. But I fear that it's going to be me sitting in front of the TV, 6 inches away from the screen, shaking my head in the 85th minute, and it's all still left to play for. I think it's going to be close. I don't think we're going to keep a clean sheet.
Yeah.
I don't see that. But I'm going to be interested to see how they set out our team, what the selection looks like. I fear it's going to be close.
Ooh, I hope not. I hope it's more like most of the predictions here in the comments, like
I
5
don't see
goals with a
6-0. I'm sorry.
Dyson hat trick
Yeah.
with possibly his last game with Celtic. I feel like that's storybook stuff, that more of what we're about. But then David's comment: if Dunfermline win and there's a chance that Neil Lennon gets offered the manager's job in the shower, no, that's not what I want to see in any way. But
It
I don't know.
would be funny, but it's too soon. That joke. It's too soon.
Yeah, but you never know what happens. I mean, like I said last year, I think we all felt pretty good going into playing Aberdeen. Like we had handled them pretty much every time we played it. We played in the League Cup when we beat them 6-0, 5-0. I think I remember last year in the League Cup, and I think Dyson did have a hat trick in that one. And then, they came out and beat us and stopped us from. That was a treble last year. So yeah, so it's. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you remember how Aberdeen's set up? Because it's probably exactly how Lenny's going to set up.
I don't. I remember watching at the Anglesey pub on my phone because they couldn't get it on the TV, so it was hard to see what was
It's
happening.
like a diamond in the midfield.
Yeah, well, sort of. They dropped the one striker in, but the attacking midfielder. But it's a back five with a narrow midfield three.
Yeah.
Usually with one of the 5-3-2 guy, the striker, quote unquote, dropping into the diamond. But more importantly, what they'll do is funnel the ball wide, and then use the triangle of the right center back, right wing back, and right midfielder to kind of just let our wide overloads.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then dare us to put the ball in the middle, because we don't do that, and we're not very good at it. So that I kind of call this the Steven Robinson game model, like against us. Like he has given us a lot of a pain in the ass when he was at St. Mirren. We really struggled, even in the first game of the season, obviously, as you recounted earlier, Shawnee. So I suspect that'll be Lennon's game plan, and that was in his own way McInnes's game plan over the weekend. In that first half.
That's what he did against, we keep bringing up the Barcelona game. I mean, that was the jewel in Neil Lennon's crown, probably for his entire career. I can't see, him ever topping that, but that was exactly it. See the wide area and, dare him to whip it in.
Yep.
It worked.
Well, we don't have Iniesta and Xavi, and they don't have. And they do not have Fraser Forster standing on his head. So.
Oh God, what a freaking legend, La Gran Morala.
So I mean, I feel like expectations are a double, which in this season is. I mean, one, that we win the title, two, that we win a double is just amazing. Like how this season has gone. So I'll take it all day. Leading into our next, I'll throw up Sean O'Farrell. I hope that I see him this weekend at the Plough. But manager for next season, and I is it official that Askew got hired by Toulouse? I saw reports on that today. I don't know. I don't believe anything I see online. So, but.
Usually when what's his face, Mr. Transfer Market Corruption dude, when he says something's done, it is usually done. Fabrizio, usually when Romano says it.
I didn't see it from him, but okay.
Yeah.
I would agree.
And so Toulouse are owned by Redbird, Redbird Capital, which is a private equity arm that also, I don't know if they still own AC Milan, but they did. If they don't still. But they're one of these multi-club clubs or entity that's engaged in a lot of analytics and stuff. So it actually makes sense, because I'm familiar with what they're doing at Toulouse. It makes sense that they would go for Askew. He's a smart hire for them, the way he manages. So I'm sad. Like, I thought he was great for the league. I thought he was great for Motherwell. Motherwell's actually losing a lot of people. So
Yeah, I would.
it'll be,
I
it'll
mean,
be
I
interesting
like.
to see how Motherwell.
I liked watching them play.
Oh,
I
it's
want to.
terrific.
I want to take just. I want to take just off to them, and I would be thrilled if we got him more so than anybody. I mean, I know we like Maswanisi people were talking about, but yeah, but give me just like
Just as the player.
he's phenomenal, and
Yep.
particularly in a spot that I think we desperately need. So like, but then that leaves us. We're not getting Askew. Where does that leave us in the manager hunt? Is it like Sean said? Is it going to be Robbie Keane or I don't know? I'll go to Chris. Do you have any preference? You want Martin back, I'm sure. Is your
No, I think time has passed Martin.
I agree.
I want to think that there's this manager out there somewhere that's going to come in for us. It's going to be the perfect fit, and we're going to relive Ange Postecoglou era again of players coming in, and we're making deals and we're doing all the things. But I honestly, man, I've tried to think about Askew as our manager. I never saw it. I've tried to think of Robbie Keane as our manager, and I haven't seen it. There's so many things that are going on that it's. I feel like we're going to have to do something that's either going to be out of left field, or we're just going to prepare for Sean Maloney with a Martin O'Neill in the background, and then we're going to bring in Bruni and whatever. Like we're either just going to have to accept it or whatever. And I'm saying all these things because genuinely speaking, I don't have any indication of what's going to happen. I don't know who I really want to have be the manager at the moment. And that's kind of telling me that, like, there's probably a lot of people like me that are just like, man, we just got finished with this incredibly long season of living and dying by every kick of the ball. And now comes the thing that we should have faced the first time around, which is, replace Brendan Rodgers, which is, it's like, it's almost like coming full circle. It's like, well, we went around and we did all of the things this season, and we did all of this and and Martin O'Neill brought us back in, and but the reality is that the World Cup's going to start next month. Right. And you've got a limited amount of people that are going to be interested in coming to Celtic to be the manager. And you've got all these positions that either need to get cleared out, or, players need to be moved on, or, whatever the case may be. People are coming back from injury. Jota's been out for 2 seasons, right? And he's going to be coming back, right? So, like, there's so much stuff going on. I just want somebody that's going to be committed to Celtic at this point, right? Like that's all I really want, is that I want somebody that's going to give 115% every single day for Celtic Football Club. And if they do that, I'm going to be willing to give them the benefit of the doubt at the moment, just because I don't think we have a whole lot of options this season. Out of all of the years for these things to happen, if it happens in a World Cup season, man, we're like, when's the first Champions League qualifier? It's like the beginning of July, mid part of July, whenever it is. Like, there's no time for any of this, and yet we still have to make all of those decisions. And with that, I'm like, I really think that we need to start bracing for Robbie Keane and Bruni and Sean Maloney or some variation thereof that just gives everything that they got to Celtic, and that's just kind of the way that it is right now.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's like you said, it is a tough year being with the World Cup year. I think it does eliminate a few people like that you would like the you see Steve Clark being mentioned and Roberto Martinez, but like I don't think Celtic can wait that long. Like I feel like Celtic just needs to dive right into it.
Agreed.
But and I'll throw up like Dr. J's comment. It doesn't really matter who we get if we don't spend. Probably not. Like
No.
and,
It's also that.
And like Ben, like ask you with some money and quality, it could be Ange 2.0, and I agree with that. Like and just I love his playing style. Like like this season was.
We have a direct analog to Askew, and he's still under contract for 2 more seasons. Do you know who that guy is? Wilfred Nancy.
Yeah, Wilfred Nancy.
We're paying him for 2 more seasons.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Like,
Well,
he's no different than Askew. The maddening part of people saying they want Askew.
I know. Well,
It's
yeah,
like, all right. Let's see, talk to me in fucking September when Liam Scales is trying to play the ball out from the back, line passes, and plays it straight to the other team. Like it
And
Motherwell were a train wreck. Motherwell were a train wreck for 2 months. Like you don't
right.
just flip a switch.
And now that comes down to I think we've talked about it when you were on before, James. Like the timing of the Nancy move is just probably what it would fucked him and fucked us and fucked everything up. Like, but yeah, you're right.
I always say this because most people do not, and I'm a dickhead, disagreeable prick. Is that there was an active force inside the club trying to get Paul Tisdale fired that were sabotaging the Nancy tenure from the start. This was happening. This is not, so the idea that he had the backing of the whole club is nonsense. The captain disappeared for a month. No one from the senior leadership team was at his opening press conference. So this is not to say that Nancy was perfect or even a good fit at the time, et cetera, et cetera. Is that he was undermined from the beginning. There was a civil war going on at the club. So this has to get resolved. And they, so whoever they hire, it needs to be coherent. Like we can't be having infighting and the manager pissed off at the guy who's signing players or whatever, not playing guys out of spite and sending him into the lowland league. That's what we just went through. Is this kind of bullshit? Can we have some fucking grown-ups in the room and stop with this petty bullshit? Like that's what we need.
Right. Graham, do you have anybody in mind outside of the, any of the names that have been, and then I threw another one I saw in the comments, Craig Bellamy, I think is another interesting name. But anybody in mind?
Trying to guess at this point is
it's tough.
It defeats the purpose of what we're after here, which is we're trying to have a dialogue here and have a conversation around it and have some fun with it. But if we look at it internally, I agree completely with what James mentioned. We can't have this like antagonism, but that really starts at the top. It doesn't matter who we hire. If we're going to have a micromanaging, sort of creeping in from people who don't know the game, which we've had since, as Tony Soprano would say, time immemorial, we're never going to have that. Then it's just a matter of survival. Bringing somebody in as we have for 2-3 years, get a little magic out of them, support them a little bit on the front end, and then not give them anything until they give in and leave. Rinse, lather, repeat. Until there is a change in the culture from the very highest reaches within the club, this is what we're stuck with. I think that, the Paul Tisdale situation is really paramount here, because if there was a civil war, if there was infighting, the outcome is what it is. And my sense was that the strategy in selecting a manager was trying to replicate the Ange situation, where, let's be honest, nobody even knew how to pronounce his fucking surname when he first got here. I mean, James would being the exception, because I would be surprised. But none of us were watching the Yokohama Mariners or the Kyoto Corons or whatever. We didn't know anything about that guy, but they caught lightning in a bottle. And credit to them. They found an unpolished gem with Ange, and they were seeking to replicate that in some way with Nancy, and they failed miserably. I think at this point, there's going to be some hesitancy to try and go back to that well. They've been burned here, pretty badly quite
That's
recently.
my fear.
And, where I see it is, we're thinking about analogs. The key salient point is we're in a World Cup year. It's in the summer, and you think back to, when was the last time there was something similar to this? Well, it was when Lennon, you remember Lennon had to go and meet the apostles and kiss the ring, and he had to do a gathering in all 32 counties of Ireland to get the blessing of everybody before they would actually announce them, and the whole thing. And it was very cautious, and unfortunately that's how I see it playing out. Is we do have a Maloney type situation where we try and piece it together, and maybe O'Neill stays on in a consultative element, or something along those lines. I don't see the club getting very audacious with this. I could be wrong, but
What do you, Graham, rest of you guys, if Martin O'Neill says, I want the job for a year, what do you think the club does?
I think at this point they give it to him.
I do
They
too.
give it to him.
That's
I
horrifying.
think because from
That's
a
horrifying.
but
I agree with you. I agree with you, but that's why it's
commercial
horrifying.
perspective.
I don't think it's right, but yeah.
No, I agree. I do not think it's right, but from a commercial perspective, that's what they're going to think of. Imagine if he wins the double, and they bring him in as a glorified caretaker. Yeah, he's going to stay for another year and stabilize things and whatever. But the club's going to look at that and think about all the T-shirts that they can sell with his picture on it, and how many documentaries and YouTube snappy chats, all that they can latch onto. And there's a little bit of continuity, that can get us into, like we said, those the Champions League qualifiers are going to come extremely fast.
Well,
It's the wrong decision.
Point of clarification on that real quick is I think it's going to be the third week of August, because we're automatically in the playoff.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
that's right.
It's not as bad.
We won the league. That's right.
Not as bad as it could have been, but
Okay.
It's just we won the league.
because we were in such ready shape for Kairat this year. So
we could be playing Kairat again too.
I know.
Yeah.
We sure as hell could.
Yeah.
Dude, I would take them again, because I think we'll fucking roll them next year.
If you're looking at rebuilding a squad that has the injuries and the loans and all of those things that have happened this season, it's still not a whole lot of time to get a manager in.
Engels is going to be gone. Maeda is going to be gone. Hatate is going to be gone.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are going to be gone.
People.
We need
people
a
have
full
talked
rebuild.
About, as soon as everybody.
Somebody in the
talks about
chat
full
earlier
rebuild,
said, how many new players do we need in the summer?
Yeah.
Maybe 12. And I read that. I'm like, yeah.
Welsh is going to be gone. I mean, like,
I was saving that.
all those
comment.
guys
I
on
just
loan.
deleted it.
Palma. We have all these, Navratsky. I think like they're going to empty the shelves here. So who's going to pick
Somebody
all
needs
those
to take
players
Martin aside and say, don't do it.
Yeah. I almost think it's like bad to keep him around.
Yes.
In any function, really, because I don't think it's healthy. Like,
no,
I think if you bring the new manager in, you got to have the new manager, and he's got to be able. I mean, I love Martin. I mean, obviously, I think he's the job he did this year is like one of the best managerial jobs I've ever seen anywhere.
I can't
But-
think of another one. Yeah.
But it's not healthy. Like to
No.
have him always in the background I don't think you can
Agreed.
ever move forward. Like, and
Agreed. Yes.
it's,
And
don't know.
rebuild, which is what we like. Let's be honest, it's what we need to do. A complete rebuild. And they keep them on, and let's say we're 6th in September, October. You know, it's just
That's the fear, is that this is
Yeah.
a storybook ending.
Yeah.
Build the statue,
Dr. J's right, man.
and
But it's, yeah, so don't
Papa
know.
can't fix everything.
but all that being said, I 100% think he will be somewhere in the mix just because I think Celtic
I
is that
would not be
backwards.
surprised. I wouldn't
think
be
we're-
surprised.
We're that
I don't- I-
some
backwards.
sort of
but-
presence.
I
But
wouldn't be surprised if he gets in a room, if he pulls a Doc Rivers. Did you guys remember that recent story?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Philly guys will know that story. So the people don't
expand
know.
for our folks on the other side
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the
So
water.
Doc Rivers is, you know, a legendary head coach in the NBA, and the Bucks hired him as a consultant to help them figure out basketball operations, and then magically after like 6 weeks, he recommended that they replace their head coach with him. So the head coach lost his job, and again, I'm not saying Martin O'Neill would do that, but having him around, it's
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, it's just not, and it wouldn't be a place that you probably would get the kind of head coach that you'd want. Someone agreeing to come into that environment is probably not.
Aside from Sean Maloney, you know, who
Well,
I mean,
but-
it's
Come on,
another Lennon situation.
right? Lennon coming back second. I mean, Lennon did more in his managerial career before he came back the second time than what Maloney's done. I mean,
Yeah.
So yeah,
I don't know.
But I do think it comes down to, like Peter says, if he wants to stay, I think he'll stay. I think they'll let him stay.
Yeah. Oh, if he says,
And that's-
give me another season," they're going to gleefully say yes.
Yeah.
Just from
Yeah.
the
Wouldn't surprise
commercial
me.
element, it saves them, you know, having to go out and do the exhaustive search and the accountability.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I hope
Well,
they
as
give
we
him
know,
a ton of money.
as we know from the absolute debacle. Say what you want about Brendan Rodgers, love him, hate him, but you know his exit and how Dermot Desmond behaved
right.
tells
That's
us
true.
they are allergic to accountability.
Yep.
Yeah.
If there's somebody else to fall on that sword, they're falling. They ain't going to take it. And
Yep.
to a certain extent, we need some time. I don't want this to get underplayed, but we're probably going to need some time to let that odor sort of waft out a little bit. You know, Dermot Desmond might have all the money and all the connections and everything else in the world, but don't think that whole exchange didn't get unnoticed.
Yep.
Yep. Well, and this is why I'm such a stickler for attribution of what's going on this season and every season, is that as much as Martin O'Neill has been seminal and central to this season, this goes back to the tribalism. It's a lot more nuanced than, you know, he has superhero leadership powers, right?
Yep.
And that's the narrative. That's the story. Like,
It
that's the
is.
statue. That's the fun part. That's the emotional part. That's all the great part. That's not reality. And, you know, Rangers remaining shit and betting that Hearts are going to be shit is not a plan. And that those two aspects were central to why we won this league. It was not, you know, this goes back to your point earlier, Graham, when we won the league with 82 points or, you know, pre-liquidation, et cetera, with lower point totals. It's because you're going against better teams. This was not a good Rangers team. This was not a good Hearts team. And particularly Hearts will get a lot better. Like I would bet big money on that. So you know, to use another North American sports metaphor, you have to skate to where the puck's going to be. And I'm afraid that thinking that, what just happened is down to we just figure it out. That's not a plan.
Yeah. No, exactly.
We
Yeah.
figure out how to win shit is not a plan.
Yeah.
When a lot of it has to do with other people being incompetent. And you can't control
let's think
their
about
level
this
of competence.
From the standpoint of, like, let's say Brendan stayed and we won the league in a similar way. Would we be considering, and then Brendan resigned at the end of the season, would we be considering Martin O'Neill
No.
as a manager?
No.
Just like you wouldn't have thought of Neil Lennon in 1819.
Right.
We won that. We won that league. That was such garbage football for 3 months.
And they couldn't wait to hand him the keys because, God, that story just fit right in, and they could just skate right on by having to deal with all that. Here you go, buddy. Welcome back.
This is that situation on steroids because you're
Right.
talking about a true heroic, legendary, epic stature guy. So
Dr. J is loving your American sport analogies, James, as always.
all night, Doc. All night.
So yeah, I feel like we're no further along, and you see Sean Maloney pop up, and well, we haven't mentioned Ange. I mean, none of us have said really Ange. Like, is Ange an
He's not
option
coming
to
back.
bring back? I know. I don't.
Ange is not coming back.
I
He's
don't
not
think
working
so
with
either.
Dermot Desmond again. There's no way.
Yeah.
No,
No.
seriously.
No,
it's
I
not
agree.
happening.
Absolutely
So-
not. No, we have a better chance of getting Ancelotti. There's a better
Pep
chance.
Guardiola.
Yeah.
But whatever happens, it needs to happen somewhat fast. Because, like James said, Dyson's going to be gone most likely. Engels probably. Hatate most likely. Definitely, I would say.
Hatate's gone.
Alistair
No,
Johnson
Hatate
after
will
a
never
World
play
Cup
again.
is another one. It's more like maybe not definitely, but a 50-50. And that's a nucleus of your current team.
That's all our good players.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll have, and you'll get good money for them. Dyson, before the last month or two, maybe you wouldn't have gotten the money, but now, like, he's played himself, and particularly if he has a good World Cup for Japan, he's played himself. There's going to be big money interest in him. Engels probably will get, like, if we were getting offered 25 million, whatever that was.
He's gone.
I mean, he's gone. Maybe we won't get 25 million, but you're going to get a good amount of money. We have a good amount of money in the bank already.
Right.
So
we got 100 million. And
there's a lot of money
Yeah.
that needs to be invested, and it's so I don't know. Get that manager in the door. Like we've talked about in recent weeks. We're already re-signing guys like Scales and McCowan and Forrest and stuff like that. And like some of those moves make sense, but like you don't have a new manager in the door yet. Like, so to say how I'm going to use those guys, so I don't know. It needs to get done quick.
There's one name that meets all of the criteria you just laid out. Who will get 4 weeks off to recharge his batteries because that qualifier isn't until the 3rd week of August.
Mm-hmm.
And to my knowledge, I haven't heard anything. There's not some big travel preseason.
Not yet.
So it's probably going to be a relatively low key preseason.
Dude, come back to America. Come on, man.
No, I'm just saying it sounds like it sounds like Martin O'Neill to me. It does.
Yeah, or Sean Maloney.
Well, I don't think
and
they'll do
that's
that.
no, I don't either. But like
They'll do O'Neill with Maloney again. I could see that if Maloney's going to be involved at that level. Yep. And the Foz, bring the Foz back.
Yeah.
Intensity.
He's been the most important person in the locker room, apparently, from giving everybody the love that they need. That is what got us over the line. It sounds like. But
yep.
All right. Well, I think the last thing I want to talk about, and we talked about it a little bit in the beginning when we introduced Graham. The kind of birth of American podcasts, and we, like, Graham, you talked a little bit about like how you got rolling in it and stuff like that, but like how do you see like kind of how it's grown, like James doing the Huddle Breakdown, like, and then like after you were doing the Beyond the Waves, and that's how like James I mean, I remember like we were hanging out with James in Philly at the Plow, and he saw the Rev there, and it was like one of the bigger fanboy moments I've seen in my life. But like, so like what did you guys do? The Smell the Glove with Dr. J and Paulie in Toronto or Montreal.
Yeah. We went to Toronto. That's right.
So I mean, do you feel like you kind of started
No.
something?
No.
No. I
Well,
feel like you should.
You know what my thought, and it wasn't me. It was really that core. It was Seamus and the Rev. Of course, we had the coach, and it was really
I forgot about him.
the thought was, let's get a group together, much like we're doing tonight. That people on the other side. I thought people in Scotland and Ireland, they'd get a kick at it hearing people that sound like us talking about Celtic and talking about it with passion and with some level of insight, right? Like, we open with like, we are going to talk pish, so get ready. But the thought was that. And I felt this way when I went over there. Like when people would hear me speak about Celtic, they were like, "How do you know so much?" Like it was a surprise, and we wanted to illuminate that. And I said this when we were, sort of closing in the closing months of the Beyond the Wave show. I feel like we accomplished that, in our sort of, time with it, and there really wasn't much more to do. We accomplished that. And then, you mentioned Paulie and you mentioned, Honey Boo Boo, Chris and Dr. J, people in America were keeping that going. And it's just been great, to see this show. And I'm tuning into this show. Sometimes I comment, sometimes I don't. But it's just great to see that continue on. And it's just amazing. I mean, just interact. I've been on a podcast in so long, so hopefully this has not been just absolutely horrible. But it's just great to see. It's interesting to see the technology. When we started, it was Spreaker, and I'm trying to get people to call in on Skype. Skype, and I
think I called it on your Spreaker a couple times on Skype.
Yeah, turn off Clyde and support your side. And the homeboys and all that. And now we've got so much technology, and it's become so much more accessible for more people to engage, in this type of way. And I'm thrilled, that you guys have this show, and there are other shows, like this, not just for Americans, but or with Americans, either leading the show or participating, but throughout the world. There's more Scottish podcasts, Scottish Celtic podcasts, Irish Celtic podcasts. The Australians and so on. It's wonderful that there's this much access to Celtic content, especially when it's so vivid in my mind thinking about like the early days when, like I said, it was just Celtic Underground, and Lost Boys, and that was it. So we got like 2 podcasts a week, and then it's like, then you were left with trying to get, Clyde One and listen to that shit. Now, like you can fill your entire day, with different stuff. It's just wonderful, to see it. And to see the response from people. And I still get people that'll like, message me on, Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, be like, when do you get the show back? It's like, oh shit.
I think I've done that too a few times.
It's like, and it's humbling, and it's and I'm honored, and maybe someday, I'll become more involved again. and I made the decision to, stop doing it. And, I have a family, and I'm very, committed to that. And, like anybody that has a family, there'll come a time when my kids won't want to have anything to do with me anymore. And I'll have more time, and maybe, I'll get involved, or, something like that. But it's important for me to, to really be there for my family. But it's just thrilling to see where we are now relative to where we were that day in Fido. It was the 2011. Yeah, it was 2010 or 2011. No, it was 2010. It was a 2010 Cup final against Motherwell. We won 4-0. And we're sitting around that table at Fido, and we came up with the concept. It was the four of us that came up with the concept of Beyond the Waves. I wanted to call the show American Idiots. Seamus quickly shot that down, and I think it was the coach, Jim McGuigan, that came up with the name Beyond the Waves, which was just an absolute genius. To see where it's come, where the whole medium has come from that day to today, with what you guys are doing and with what other people are doing. It's amazing. It's really great.
Yeah, dude. I'll go back to. I remember I was there. You did like a live show, I think, at Fido when Real Madrid came over.
With
and I don't think I knew you yet at that point. So I was like, that was like when I really didn't know anybody. I knew Seamus. Seamus might have been the only person I really knew, and I didn't know anybody. And I was just kind of hovering in the background at Fido, and then down at the link watching the game. But I totally remember that, like, and now I feel like I know everybody down. But so it's amazing, and, to see, like you said, how far it's gone.
And just the other thing that's been gratifying is the connection and the relationships that have been built as a result, I think, of, these types of things, not just amongst ourselves in America, because that's a big part. Sometimes we can feel like we're off on an island, and the things like the Fela and the things like the Real Madrid, when Celtic came, and we all got together, and it wasn't just a bunch of Scots and Irish guys. It was a bunch of Americans getting together too. And, that feeling like we're not off on an island, like there's a community here, and there's that element. But it's also the connection between now us and the folks on the other side, Big G and one of the most important, friendships that I built, my entire life with Paul Larkin, the Green and White Rider, that's something that's great too, is bringing us in America together and establishing to the rest of the world, and, especially folks in Scotland that we're here, and that we're super passionate, we exist as well, but then developing the relationships across the Atlantic, as well. That's been, it's just been a wonderful thing. And it's really rooted in this club, what this club is about, and the history of the club, how it was founded, and the history of the players and the managers. And, it is a fairy tale, in a lot of ways. Not just with the results on the pitch, but, I've said this a million times in all of my rants about Peter Lowell, and there have been a few, in talking about, the club is not the PLC. The PLC is a custodian. The club is the support. It's us. That's what the club is. And they serve us. And, people got on me consistently about my criticism of the board and the PLC. And not only is it okay for us it's our job to call it out as we see it and to hold them accountable. It's our job. That's what makes us different. You didn't see the Huns doing that to their board when they should have been, and their club died.
Yep.
And that's what makes us different. But anyway, I'm just sort of rambling here, but
you're right.
I'm honored that you thought of me and that you invited me to it's been a blast. I was really looking forward to it. I had a great time, and hopefully you'll ask me to come back someday, and I would love it.
Oh, we definitely will. And I've been looking forward to. I've been telling Chris that I've been looking forward to it, and he can vouch for me.
No, we've been talking ad nauseum about it. 'Cause, I mean, from my perspective, right? So like you're Beyond the Waves was a leading forefront to just everything, right? And then coming off of the back of that, like, man, it was such a momentum shift in the U.S. to have a week in, week out podcast that did nothing but talk about Celtic. And I mean, you touched on a lot of different things that really struck, that fast nerve, that connection between people here and people in Scotland, or that connection between me and let's just say Sean Brennan and Pennsylvania, right? Like, before you, we didn't know each other,
Right.
but because of you, you're on our podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything is like full circle at this point. And I can't think of another club that I would want to be a part of that has such just a grasp on my soul, right? Like it has me right here, that like I will not easily shake this off, right? So I've got to
Yeah.
I've got to always support that.
Yeah.
And when I stopped doing my Sunday show, the Celtic Dreams, with Honey Boo Boo, it was a gut punch. It was a little gut punch, because for a moment in time, I lost that connection week in, week out, and it's just, this club is amazing, and you're 100% right. The club is the support; it's not the PLC, and I just, everything about Celtic Football Club for me has everything to do with the people that I have first name basis with. So, hats off to you, Graham. I just, it's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm honored. I'll, not to belabor the point, but I'm really, really honored. And I know what you just said, I can identify. When you have a show and then it kind of goes away, and you move on to other things, or you kind of shift gears. And for me, it was my family, and I never had a second thought about it. But you're right. I mean, it does feel like a gut punch, a little bit, but you never lose the connection, no matter what. Just because you're not working your ass off to put out a good show every week, which
Right.
you guys know firsthand what goes into it. It's not like these podcasts just come together and you just get on, you press play and then it goes. It's a hell of a lot of work. When you're committed to putting out a good product that people are going to invest their time to listen in every week, and all of a sudden it stops, but the connection is always there. And I don't mean just us with the club. I mean us amongst ourselves. Case in point, Celtic came here last year, and I took my family to go see them in DC. And who the hell do I see as we were walking out of the stadium but the Rev? And you can spot, what I'm talking. You can spot the Rev from a mile away. He's got that hat on, and he's got like the beard, like the Fu Manchu or some shit. It's like, and you just kind of you just pick up right where you left off. And that's what it's all about. That's what it is. And it's not about how many freaking people listen to my nonsense this week. It's it's about our connection together and to the club. So
that's what me and Chris always say. It's just like, I mean, we just focus on the 3 or 4, mostly, sometimes 3 people that we have on, and just just have a good time, and it's just connecting over Celtic, and that's what we, that's how we got connected, and it's great. We've built like a community. Like I think this is like our 46th or 47th one we've done. We've had 30 something people different on with us over the season, which is awesome. Like, and some more than others, but it's great.
And you
Catching
guys
up
are
with
doing
all
a
these people.
fantastic job.
It's
You guys are doing a
fun.
fantastic
It's
job.
Wednesday
And-
night has become my favorite night of the week. Like
Yeah.
it's like a hangout night, and I
Yeah.
get my beers in,
doing-
and
And you're, yeah, and I'm just going to say this because, having been there, sometimes you just like, you have no idea. Like, is this connecting with people? Are they digging this? Is this any good? And trust me, you're doing a great job. And I'm speaking on behalf of all of us over here and all over. We're really grateful for it. So keep it up.
We're just
It's
trying
really
to have
great
fun.
stuff. That's it. Well, that's how you put out good stuff.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's like Chris said, be authentic. We're just authentic.
Yeah.
That's our motto for this show.
Be authentic.
Be authentic.
Fuck the Huns.
Yes, exactly.
That's right.
But yeah, like you said, and then I'll throw up I've been saving these for all the whole show. And this is kind of what you said from what you were talking about with when you started Beyond the Waves. Like it's mad listening to Americans talking Celtic, and so cool our American U.S. Tims, and there's been more comments like that I just have missed, I think, throughout the night. But I think that's what it's about. But James, how many years have you been doing the Huddle Breakdown? Just for context,
we started in November of 2020.
Okay, so you've been a while.
It was firmly a COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I had a thought. I had started doing my analytics threads about Celtic in May of 2020, and Enda Cole, who was one of our founding partners, not the right word, but you guys know what I mean. One of the founding people of the pod with Alan and I was working in Ireland at the time. He's back in Ireland now, but he was working for, I forget the name of the Irish media company, but he asked me to go on his YouTube channel that he had just started. And Alan and I had kind of kicked around the idea of maybe of doing something for the nerds out there that were like us. And I was like, Enda was perfect. And I said, Alan, I think I got somebody to do it with us as an idea. And then I approached Enda, and yeah.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
That's how it works. And it's so sometimes you get surprised because James, I that resonates with me, where you have an idea and you're like, there might be other people out there that would, be interested in this. And then you get surprised at how many people, maybe you weren't, but at least that was my experience. You get surprised of how many people are into this. Like, I didn't think, nobody would be into it, but it's like, whoa. And you're right. There are a lot of people. I mean, I tune in because I'm, I don't, like I said, I don't tune into Celtic the way that, I once did, but, I like the tactics, and I like for once that somebody else is doing it and I don't have to, but still, I still really enjoy it,
Thank you, Sean. Yes. Off the ball. He's at a different, I can't believe I couldn't remember that. But yeah, no, it's, we have a bit of a different issue with our niche. I got yelled at from our show earlier in the week for having my Pennsyltucky accent. Is because we try to stay objective. There are some arrows that get slung our way quite frequently. So it takes a bit of a thicker skin for people to want to go through what we go through at times. But
for sure, yeah.
But yeah.
I think. Are you guys going to do more live shows? I watched the one live show you did. It was probably a month or so ago.
We're going to try it. The issue there
I enjoyed the live show.
Yeah,
it's tough.
It's connection issues.
Time
I
zone
swear to
wise.
God.
Yeah.
Sometimes, man, depending on where people live, and it's the same everywhere. It's I get into it. Fiber to house versus fiber to curb shit. I mean, that's what, to your point, Graham, like if you're going to do a good job at creating content, you actually have to have your, the right subscription to the right internet provider, or if there is one available to you, which we have some people that it isn't. So it's like, okay, well, if everyone's tuning in to watch streaming at 6:30 and that's when you're recording your show or trying to go live, and everyone on that block is downloading their porn at the time, then there's not enough available bandwidth, and it turns into a shit product.
Sean and Chris, you'll remember how many Beyond the Waves Part 1 and Part 2 were there. Because I lost the damn connection, and we had to restart and that's the danger with doing a live show. It's walking a tightrope, and you just sort of cross your fingers, that everything's going to be cooperative. Of course, I sort of used it as the cop out, where it was like, something goes wrong. Well, we were doing it live. There's a little less pressure with that. Whereas if you're recording it, it's like, oh, everything, you got to have it perfect. And, there's a lot more editing, and I'm not good at that. But it's a different animal going live.
It is. Well, just like think of tonight, like we're having audio problems with Chris in the beginning. And we're just like, yeah, we're good. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
We're probably in the beginning when in the first few episodes, we're like fucking freaking out. But I'm like,
well,
like we're texting each other in the background and like, oh, we got this. Like, we'll figure it out eventually.
Fair,
hopefully.
The lightning from the storm just knocked me out the first time, and then like just trying to come crawling my way back in. I mean, but you're exactly right. Like, how many part 3s, of Beyond the Waves or Smell the Glove or whatever it was, Celtic Dreams.
Dude, I remember the Friday night Celtic Dreams where it got to part 3 was like that was like the drunk show, because you guys were going for like 9 hours. You were going like 9 hours straight because you can only do 3 hours on Spreaker.
Yeah. Yes. So you would have like a 6.5 hour block of nothing but like Celtic
Tommy the Cab Driver Part 10 was always going to be a classic.
Tommy Gold, I'll never forget it. And then like you start following, every time Tommy Gold was on, man, that was
he was gonna crank call Ally McCoist, and it's like, it was just,
I forgot about him.
He crank called everybody. He crank called Billy Connolly. He crank called God Almighty. It was hilarious. It was so funny.
Back when everyone was inspired by the Jerky Boys.
Exactly, the Jerky Boys.
Yeah.
Oh wow. But
all right. Well,
yeah.
I think we've set our record for length on a show tonight.
Oh,
and
yeah. Sure.
We're on a roll tonight.
I'm finishing my third beer and I got to piss, Sean.
So do I.
See, this is in the Beyond the Waves days. This is when I would take a musical break.
Yeah.
I just throw
and I got a DeVito.
That's what I said. I think I need to like get a catheter for some of these shows we've done recently. We've gone over 2 hours, I think, the last three times.
There hadn't been anything to talk about though.
Yeah, but there's a lot going on these days. So, and then we got Graham and James on this week. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I knew this was going to be long, so.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. So I think we'll wrap it up there. But thank you guys for coming.
Am I going to be your producer? You got to do your commercial or not?
We don't have a commercial anymore.
Oh, no commercial anymore. Yeah. Okay. All right. Just making sure.
Yeah.
But we're looking for sponsors.
I don't want you getting abused if you don't do it. That's why I'm trying to get your back.
No, I mean the sponsor commercial was a good piss break for some of our
that was my other latent motivation, but
yeah, that kind of went away. So yeah, we don't do that anymore. But whatever, maybe someday again. But I'd rather not have a sponsor. I think it works better for us. I won't go into details. Some people have wanted to sponsor stuff, but we haven't pushed them on. So, but I digress. But anyway, thanks for coming on, James. As always, you're great, and your Huddle Breakdown is awesome. It's my favorite show to listen to on Tuesday and Wednesday when it comes out. It's awesome.
Thank you.
And
Excellent stuff.
Yeah, Graham. Like I said, I've said a few times, and Chris too. Like
we're not worthy. We're not worthy.
We have been. I've been trying to get you on all season. So I'm thrilled we finally got it to happen.
I'm sorry it took so long, but
no, it's all good, dude. I know it's hard.
Hopefully, ask me to come back.
Yeah, we definitely will. Not a worry there.
Absolutely.
But then thanks for everybody for getting in the comments. The comments were awesome tonight, as always, and we had a pretty steady. It was going all night, which is great. So if you can give a like and subscribe to the channel, because it'll help you find us and get us on the schedule for Wednesday nights. We do it at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 1 a.m. Celtic Park time every week, and we've been pretty religious with that all season. I think we only missed one night all season long, so
we did okay.
We did okay. And so one more week in this season. Next week we're gonna have Sean Finn from Pittsburgh and Paul McCann from Chicago CSC. They've been two probably our most frequent guests all season long, so it works best that they get to kind of finish off the season with us, and so we're excited about that. Excited for a double, hopefully. I'm fingers crossed. You got to feel confident going into the weekend. So, but yeah, so that's about it. And so we will see you guys next week, and we hope to get Graham and James on again sometime soon. And hail, hail. We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, boys.
Cheers.
Check y'all out.